Hey everybody, welcome back to Saturday Scares with Kyle, and today we're going to be talking about Fraser Clark Heston's adaptation of Stephen King's Needful Things.
Yeah.
I just recently got this 4K from Kino Lorber. It's a wonderful 4K. The film has not had a complete release in a while, so I was really happy to upgrade my copy. Like I said before, the film is directed by Fraser Clark Heston. If you don't know who that guy is, it's because he's the son of a more famous Heston, Charlton Heston. This is his only feature film to not feature his dad.
How dare you?
And it's one of those things I feel like I could have guessed where Charlton Heston would have played if he'd made the film 20 years earlier. It made a great Pangborn. The film is based on Stephen King's 1991 novel of the same name. Was released pretty quickly. The rights were grabbed up, and ironically enough, this is one of two films that came out in 1993 to feature the character of Alan Pangborn. We would first be introduced to him in The Dark Half, George A. Romero's adaptation of the Stephen King book, where he's played by Michael Rooker. In this film, he's played by Stephen King's standby Ed Harris, who did things like, recently he's done Top Gun Maverick. He did things like The Truman Show. For Stephen King fans, he shows up in Mick Garris's The Stand. He shows up in George Romero's Creep Show. So he's not unaware of how to make a Stephen King film. And it's also, I don't think he's also one of those guys who's gotten a lot of leading roles outside of that Abyss to Needful Things range.
No, and it's interesting. No, Dark Half came out the same time this one, right?
Yeah, so yeah. It's pretty peculiar, and it would have made for a great, dual character link, but we weren't doing cinematic universes at that point.
No.
His girlfriend in the film, Polly Chalmers, is played by Bonnie Bedelia, who of course had recently done Die Hard 1 and 2. Again, for Stephen King fans, she was also in Tobe Hooper's Salem's Lot adaptation. Polly Chalmers' character is one that comes into Alan's life in a particular moment. He has lost his former wife and one of his children in a car crash, so he's a man who's kind of broken, looking to rebuild his life, and that's where she comes into play here. Their life seems to be going pretty well until Max von Sydow's Leland Gaunt enters the picture. Depending on if you read the book or watched the film version or the other cut of the film, Gaunt's character kind of changes a little bit, but he's a very famous character within Stephen King's canon. He would show up in various forms in The Dark Tower as well. And Max von Sydow is perfect casting for this character. I can't think of anyone else who would ever play Leland Gaunt again, and that's probably why we haven't seen another adaptation of this film. We also have J.T. Walsh. If you watched our episode on Red Rock West, I think was the same year. So really a good year.
He really killed it in the early 90s.
So he plays Danforth Buster Keaton III. He is the kind of the town accountant who's been embezzling money. And if there's one person who challenges Max von Sydow's presence on screen, it is Buster Keaton, acting to the 10th degree, because he is consistently over the top in the film, which works because the character is supposed to be that way. And I love that he kind of makes that turn from a schlubby kind of a loser character into this incredibly villainous, evil man. I think it's one of the best turns of any character or performance in a King film.
Yeah.
We also get Amanda Plummer, who plays Nettie Cobb. She's also the daughter of Christopher Plummer, who appeared in Dolores Claiborne. So we've got a lot of connections to the Stephen King universe in this film.
Yeah, she's Honey Bunch in Pulp Fiction.
Yep,
right?
Honey Bunch in Pulp Fiction. She was also in the Hunger Games films, so she's still doing consistent acting across the board. I love seeing Amanda Plummer in any film because I think that she just has this tenderness to her, even when she's playing a character like Honey Bunch, that is incredibly relatable. Screenplay for the film was W.D. Richter, who actually did the remake to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He did Big Trouble in Little China. For you director fans out there, he directed Buckaroo Banzai. So W.D. Richter is he's certainly known for like his kind of presence as a writer and director on film. Also wanted to cover a couple other people. Ray McKinnon plays Norris Ridgwick, the cop who serves with Pangborn. He was also in The Stand, playing the progenitor of the virus that comes through town. And Don S. Davis, known for Stargate SG-1 and also playing Scully's dad on The X-Files, plays Reverend William Rose. The reason why I wanted to pick this film is I really love those kinds of films that are about a town devouring itself. It's one of my favorite things that shows up frequently in Stephen King's work. It's also one of the reasons I really love the Halloween Kills sequel that came out a couple years ago, it was because this town devouring itself in its hatred and its grief. And I love that the town already has its secrets when the film starts. There are already people that don't like each other. Leland Gaunt is not turning these people evil. He's giving them slight nudges towards sociopathic, violent outbursts. And I think watching a town cave in on itself, especially a town that's so notable as Castle Rock within the Stephen King canon, this was seen as the last Castle Rock book. This was going to be the one that was going to blow the lid off of Castle Rock as a town, and I think it did pretty well as that. I have a weird connection with the film, though, in that when I watched the film originally, I thought it was way longer. I saw this movie in a 4-hour block on television when I was about 10 or 12 years old, and it was only when I bought the DVD a few years later that I realized this is not the complete version that I saw, and that's because this film was released in theaters with a 2-hour version, but it actually showed up on TBS and later TNT in a 4-hour with commercials or 3-hour and 10-minute cut for television.
I remember it was on TV. Yeah.
And that's my preferred version. I've been waiting for years to get a hold of that, and it finally happened in America. Like I said, this Kino Lorber version of the film comes with a 4K of the theatrical cut and a Blu-ray of the TV cut. I love the TV cut. I think it raises the entire film an entire letter grade. The consistent problem that people have with Needful Things is that it doesn't get enough time for all of its many, many, many characters in 2 hours. Well, that's where the TV cut comes into like a much handier version. TV cut has a couple flaws to it. Because it was on TV, they changed out some of the F-bombs into a little bit like more family-friendly swear words, which I don't think work as well. It's presented in full screen, which I really wish we had gotten a widescreen version of that television cut. Little things like that. And there's also like the film fades out every once in a while for a commercial break, because you know that there's one that has to be placed into the film. Fraser Clark Heston said he prefers the theatrical cut. It's his version of the film. I disagree entirely. I think the TV cut is a much better version of the film, and I think it's well worth owning if you don't have a copy of it. So check out that, available right there. I adore this movie and everything that comes with it.
Do you think without Needful Things that we would get Devil's Advocate? It's kind of the same kind of thing.
It's similar, isn't it? But that film is more focused on one man's descent, whereas this is about a town, and it's. Ooh, maybe Al Pacino is Leland Gaunt.
Right, but it's the same kind of devilish.
Yeah, I think definitely you can see that kind of through line. I think Stephen King as a name himself probably influenced Devil's Advocate more so than this book, because there is a lot of that Stephen Kingian way about it. But yeah, that's a good point. I love this movie. It's the only Castle Rock set film made by Castle Rock Entertainment, and it's one that I definitely recommend. I think it's almost perfect in its TV cut version.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Join us next time as well. We'll be talking about the really important question of our day. Was George Washington a cannibal? We're going to talk about the Washingtonians from Master of Horror Peter Medak next time.